What's going on, everyone? Dave here, back with another video. Today is very special. We hit 50 subscribers, so thank you guys so very much for that. That's super cool, super great. Also, I have stains on my shirt. I don't know if you could see them, but if you can, I fought a piece of pizza today, and needless to say, I lost. So that's what that's from. Anyway, today we're doing a fun video. You know me, I'm just gonna talk, just kind of do my thing, and you guys sit back, relax, read some manga, play a game, do whatever you need to do. And today we're doing top 5 most underrated anime. These are 5 anime that I think are underrated. Say it with me, class, underrated. Or at the very least, 5 anime that I think deserve a lot more love, and 5 anime that I think not enough people watch. So yeah, let's get right into it.
When they soar, it's like the sun lighting up the entire world.
So first up is probably the most underrated on this list. One that is unironically in my maybe top 10, if not top 15. I think I mentioned it in my top 15 anime. If I didn't, it was a glaring omission, and that is Cheer Boys. I love Cheer Boys. I love Cheer Boys. And it's funny because you think about not only a cheerleading anime, but an anime about homies cheerleading, and you're like, what is that? What's the deal there, you know? But the deal is that it's homies just being homies and having fun. Why is my hair not cooperating? I normally hate my hair, so I don't really care, but like it just looks like berries and cream. You know, I'm a little boy. This video is falling apart. But anyway, anyway, so just like a little overview. It's about these friends who decide to start a male cheerleading squad at their local college, and these characters have a lot of heart. They're well written. They have like their own reasons for wanting to do cheerleading, whether it's because they genuinely like cheerleading or because they want to prove to themselves or prove to other people that they're able to do more with themselves and more with their, extracurricular activities, and more than, and be bigger than who they are and be more than who they are. And it's so cool to see, in anime, because, we're so used to, super crazy characters and things that are, out of the realm of possibility. It's so cool to see an anime that's so human, and that's where the whole, I guess, slice of life genre comes into play, and a lot of sports anime, relate to that as well. They're all grounded in reality to some degree. So that aspect isn't at all unique to Cheer Boys, but it's still a very fun part of it. It's still a very fun aspect of Cheer Boys, where at the end of the day, these are just homies who are like, yo, let's just dance together, guys. Let's just do it, man. And, forget what everyone else thinks, because there are a few people that are like, oh my god, you're dudes that are cheerleading. That's weird. It's like, no, man, we're just having fun. And that's a great theme that we can all take from that, is like, as long as you're happy, healthy, and having a good time, forget what everyone else thinks, man. Do your thing, love yourself, and just do what you want to do with your life. Life is too damn short to do whatever society or whatever other people think you should or shouldn't do. And I think that's a great message that's in this show, and I think just the characters and the fact that it's cheerleading is very unique, at least to anime. I'm a big defender of cheerleading. Growing up, everybody, oh, cheerleading is not a sport, and that was like the cool thing to say. But like, it takes a lot of like mental and physical fortitude to pull off cheerleading. Like, I've mad respect to anyone who cheers. And this show made it even more apparent, the fact of all the training that they go through and all of the mental hurdles. One of the main characters, he has like a fear of heights, and he becomes a flyer, and the flyer is the one that gets thrown up in the air. because he's good at it, and he, has to overcome that mental hurdle to be able to do this, and to be able to not only come through for himself but come through for his homies. And I, again, find that to be a very good theme in this show, is, just the brotherhood. And that's what a lot of sports anime touch on, is the brotherhood, the friendship, the, I'm not letting you down, you got my back, I got your back, and again, it's alive and well in Cheer Boys. So there's not a lot that I can say, because again, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it's got a lot of themes of a good slice of life and a good sports anime. Something in the realm of haiku, or something in the realm of like Kuroko's basketball, like that good solid sports anime, but they just happen to be cheerleading. And it's also, again, got a lot of heart and a lot of character development moments that might make you look at it and be like, Rush, that hits hard, dude. Like, so yeah, Cheer Boys, very underrated anime. I love it a lot.
残り時間8分で完成。おお、うまそう。特製の醤油ダレにマヨネーズソースもあります。お好みでつけて召し上がって。
Next, I'm gonna briefly touch on this because because Cheer Boys, I think I talked about. I really don't remember talking about it in my top 15 anime video. If I didn't, huge omission. But number 2, I know I talked about, and that's Toriko. I think Toriko is super, super underrated. I won't go too deep into it because, again, I talked about it in that video. But pretty much anime Monster Hunter. Like, what? That's already awesome. Like, how? I don't know how. Maybe because it got kind of overshadowed by like Dragon Ball and One Piece, and it borrows elements from those shows. But it's so cool, and it's another show that's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of adventure. It's something that envelops that same kind of One Piece flair, where you're there for the thrill, you're there for the adventure, you're there to see what happens next, what amazing locations these characters travel to, what amazing, enemies they fight, and you're like, whoa, cool, wow, whoa, oh, no way, that's crazy, oh my god, like, it's just one of those shows that envelop this, like, almost childlike wonder, where you sit and you're watching it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. He's gonna fight a robot in the Arctic? Like, that doesn't happen. But in Toriko, it does. And then they're doing it for food. It's for food. That's the crazy part, and that's the part that I love so much, is at the end of the day, Toriko's just hungry. He just wants to eat. And, like, I like food. You, I'm sure, like food. It's a cool show. I'd watch it. Toriko, underrated. I adjusted the camera. Hopefully it's not like crooked anymore. But at number 3 on my underrated, extremely underrated anime list is Girls Und Panzer. This is another one that I might have talked about in my 15 favorite anime video, because it definitely is in my 15. And again, if I forgot it, big omission on my part. But it's basically an anime about these, like, it's girls who drive tanks, girls in Panzer, girls who drive tanks, and it's so interesting the way that it incorporates driving tanks into being basically this school activity. They basically go to school to learn how to be tank operators, and they have these mock battles against one another, and they have all these different schools, and each school has their own like aesthetic, and it's really cool. And just their interactions with one another, and the fact that these girls grow from being kind of sort of strangers to being like friends through driving tanks together. It's very reminiscent of how, the people say, like, when you go to war with somebody, you come, you leave as strangers, you come back as family, or something along those lines. Like, the best place to make friends is in the foxhole. I think that's kind of a phrase I've heard before. Um, but it's that sort of kind of aesthetic, except they're just like adorable, like schoolgirls or whatever. And it's not weird. I want to stress that enough. Like, people hear anime about schoolgirls and they're like, ooh. And I don't blame you. That's how I was at first. But just watch it and you realize that it's done in good taste. The aesthetic is just this is how, they interact with one another. This is how it is, it's not weird. It's not like it's uncomfortable. It's very charming. That's the word I'm looking for. It's very charming. It's very cute. It's a fun watch. And the tank battles are really well choreographed. The way that the characters talk to one another is very, it almost seems like, when they whoever the mangaka was, I don't know off the top of my head, but it almost seems like they did their research on like tank formations and tank battles, because like you look at it and you're like, yeah, that actually makes sense. What they're doing right now, like in a real fight, that would make sense to do. Like, flank maneuvers and all this sort of stuff. And it's just fun to see these characters grow as friends and grow as people. And the backdrop is that they're driving tanks. And it's cool. It's a very, yeah, again, charming, very charming. I'm trying to think of anything, specific to say about it, but it's just kind of one of those anime that you just will either like or you don't like. And honestly, I think you'll like it because there's a fair amount of comedy involved as well. It's very funny. And you just watch it and it's one of those anime that you just feel like jolly. Is that the right word? You feel happy watching it. So that's Girls und Panzer. It's a great show. Yeah.
That's all? I injured my teammate and I feel guilty, so I can't play sports ball anymore. That old cliche.
Next on my underrated anime list is a rugby anime. Not that one. That one's good. But this one's a little better. It's called Number 24. It is a rugby anime, like I said. It's an anime that has a lot of heart, a lot of really good character development, a lot of really good writing, and it has a lot of themes of personal growth, overcoming your demons, finding your center, I guess. Like, there's trying to avoid spoilers, but it's it's kind of central to the plot, so it's not really a spoiler, but because you find out about it right away. But anyway, the main character was a big rugby player and was in a motorcycle accident with another rugby player who was driving the motorcycle, and he was sitting on the back. And it caused him to not be able to play anymore, the guy sitting on the back. And the one who was driving is overcome with this guilt. He quits rugby. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And the other guy is like, hey, man, keep playing. Like, don't do this. Like, don't beat yourself up over this. It was an accident. And, there's all these other turmoil with some of the teammates who felt a little like the one dude gave up on them, and then the guy who quit is like, but I can't, like I can't, I feel horrible for what I did to you, and it's like, dude, it was an accident, so it's this sort of struggle, and and these characters have such emotion and such weight attached to their actions, and it's just it really comes together and it really culminates in an interesting way, and the fact that these characters, you could tell that they have a lot of respect for one another, but they also respect the game a lot. So when one character leaves, again, in my opinion, for a pretty realistic reason, like he left because he felt awful about what he did. He didn't want to keep doing rugby because his homie can't do rugby anymore. But his teammates, they like him and they respect him, but at the same time, they're like, hey, you left us, man. You just left. And meanwhile, homie over here is like, yeah, but I kind of had to leave, and like at least that's the turmoil, the inner turmoil that he's dealing with. So it's this very kind of not back and forth, but like a scenario where you look at it and you're like, man, these boys better figure it out, man. They better figure something out, because like you look at one side and you're like, yeah, I kind of get where they're coming from, and then you look at the other side and you're like, yeah, but I really get where he's coming from too. So it's very interesting. And of course, rugby just on its own is a really cool, interesting sport, and something that I think makes for a great anime. This is another one too. Slight bonus one. All Out is another great rugby anime. But number 24, in my opinion, for its character and its writing and just its themes, I think is a little bit better. And I think it really would hit home for anybody who may be dealing with some trauma, or at least some hang up where they're mentally kind of like, maybe putting this barrier and putting this wall in front of themselves because they can't get past whatever's holding them up. And I think it's very important to be able to get past that mental barrier. But I think art is such an interesting way and such a healthy way to help cope and deal with that. Because knowing that, in anime, this is an anime channel, so obviously you guys are here for anime. But I still sometimes feel like a dork when I'm like, oh, anime just like, it's different, dude, it's different. But just knowing that someone sat there, wrote a story, animated the story, went through all the things to, put this piece of art together and then put it out to the world, knows that like somewhere along the line, this project meant so much to somebody that when you're watching it, for me, I'll talk about myself. I have a lot of mental hangups. I've been through a lot of trauma throughout my life. I don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but like watching someone else explain it through a character and being like, wow, that took a lot. That took a lot of work. That took a lot of effort. And it not only shows me that I'm not alone in dealing with trauma, but it also shows me that like this can become something so beautiful and so helpful and so, heartwarming. At the end of the day, the series is very heartwarming because, again, no, I won't spoil it because it's one that I highly recommend. But it culminates in this great feel-good moment. And you're like, okay, man, maybe we can get through this. Maybe I can get through this. Maybe my homies can get through this. Maybe, we can all get through this together. So, number 24, great rugby anime, but also just a very solid, character-driven anime. So, that's, number 24 is my number 4. Hey.
ハエとか普段から馴染みのある名前を言うものよ。
あかんこいつこのゲームを熟知しとる。
ほら、わかったらさっさと次のカードを出す。
The last one I got for you guys is another anime that I don't have a whole lot to say about specifically. I just think it's very cute and very fun, and that is After School Dice Club. It is an anime about 4 friends who want to play board games together. That's pretty much it. It's very cute. It's very fun. The way that and also these board games, I'm pretty sure most, if not all of them, are real. The names in the show might be different. But like I remember I watched the show and there's this game. Oh God, what's the name of it? I forget the name in the show, but I'm pretty sure its real life name is called like Slap It or something like that. It's like a card game. And they played it in the show, and the next day I was in like Target, and I was like, oh my God, that's the game from the show. I didn't buy it because I didn't want to, but I remember seeing it in the show, and I was like, wow, that's super cool. So not only is it just fun to watch, but it's fun to understand how these board games get played and also get made, because there's one character that wants to become a board game developer. So like if you're a fan of board games on any degree, I would highly recommend it, because like they kind of go into not only how board games are played and just the fun that comes with that, but also this not science, but like the marketing, the business, the some of the stuff that goes into what it takes to make a board game and get a board game out there. And I just think it's fun. I just think it's again a very interesting concept. Board games, like that's kind of crazy when you think about it, but then you watch and you're like, oh, okay, that was pretty good, So I highly recommend that one. Again, very cute, very fun, very charming. It makes me think of like me and my homies, like when we were kids, playing D&D together, like playing like Heroescape. You remember that game? Like, or just any other board game, and not even just board games, but video games. Just like that camaraderie of like being a kid and hanging out with your friends after school, and it makes you miss that sort of stuff. So you may need a tissue or two if you're gonna watch it. It's not really a sad anime, but like you may feel sad if you're in your mid-20s, like I am, and you see your homies maybe like once or twice a month because you're all so busy. That's unfortunately just how life can get sometimes, but it shows like After School Dice Club that make you remember the simple times and make you kind of feel a little good and a little, whole, because you're like watching a very wholesome, fun, cute anime. Yeah, not a whole lot to say about that one. I just think it's super underrated because I've never heard anyone talk about it. The same thing with all the other anime on this list. I've never heard anyone talk about them. At least not to the degree that I think they deserve to be talked about. But anyway, that's pretty much it. That's 5 anime that I don't know why I lost my train of thought there. That's 5 anime that I think y'all should watch. I think 5 anime that are super underrated and that I think y'all would like to varying degrees depending on what your interests are. I don't want to like come out here and act like some anime hipster, but I feel like a pretty eclectic anime taste. I've watched shows that like I don't think many people have seen. I could be wrong, but people ask me like I like haven't watched. I've only watched like 30 episodes of Black Clover, and as much as I love One Piece, I'm only on episode 100, which sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things is not much at all. So like some of the bigger anime, I'm like, oh yeah, I've watched it and it's like good. But I watch a lot of more eclectic anime, and again, I don't mean to sound like an anime hipster or anything like that, but I have a lot of anime in my backlog and in my anime history that I think could make for a good part 2 to this underrated list. So if you guys want to see more or just enjoy hearing me talk about anime, feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. Again, thank you for 50. I want to keep plugging along. I want to keep moving. I want to keep making this into something. So thank you guys so very, very much. I appreciate the heck out of all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful day or evening or whatever, whenever you watch this. I will see you in the next video. Peace.